Good evening, people. This is Jeff with the Couples Academy Ask the Expert show. I am flying solo tonight. Hassani's not with us. We're hoping to be joined by Lakeisha soon. So I wanted to because this is new for me, doing this all by myself. I just want to reach out and make sure that you guys are asking your questions here, and we're going to do our best to answer them tonight. Hopefully, Lakeisha will be able to join us. I sent her the link. Tonight, I see that we already have a couple questions coming in, and I see we have Jose coming from Tijuana. All right, and Derek and Dee Jones, as well as Derek again. Okay, so make sure you're asking your questions, and what I'm going to do is go through these questions one by one and try to get as many of them answered as possible and see what we can do here to try to keep this show alive, even though I'm flying solo. So, for those who are tuning in for the first time, we are basically just asking your questions about relationships and trying to take you through possible scenarios as fast as we can to try to help you get on track and get you the help that you need. So I have Jose coming from Tijuana, California. He asked a question earlier, and it's, "Hi, I'm Antonio from Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico. Who can I make contact with? I'm a betrayed husband about 3 years ago, and my wife had triple affairs, and I'm still going through hell." Okay. So, Jose, you can reach out to the link below. You should be able to see that in your link. You can contact us at couplesacademy.org, and what you want to do is set up a free discovery call with Hassani. You can go on and set that up right online right now. So if you have any kind of questions that you want to go through with him, that discovery call is absolutely free, and he can help you get started on your way to getting the counseling you need. All right. Let's go to Derek. How to move forward when your spouse is living in hurt and a negative thought process. She says she just wants to get over the pain and heal, but lives in the pain. Okay, so this is common. Some people hold on. There we are, Lakeisha. Give me a second, Derek. I'm going to bring Lakeisha in. Lakeisha saves the day because I was over here doing it by myself. And I'm not as good. Give me a second, Derek. Without you. I'm going to... So Derek was asking us how to move forward when your spouse is living in hurt, okay? And she's stuck in a negative thought process. She says she wants to get over the pain and heal, but just lives in the pain. So, Keisha, what would you tell him?
Well, I mean, always I'm like, I need more information. Give me more information. How long has it been? How long has it been since, I guess I'm assuming there's a betrayal of some sort, but saying that she's living in hurt, I mean, that could mean so many different things. But we do know that at some point we do have to make a conscious decision that we're going to allow ourselves to release that pain and get healthy and get the help that we need so we can move forward. And the first person you should be doing it for is yourself, not even your spouse. You do it because you want to be better and you want to make sure that you're maximizing your life to the best of your ability. And obviously your spouse will benefit, but she has to make a conscious decision that she doesn't want to continue to, quote unquote, live in the pain.
I think also one of the big things I see here also, he said, I ask her all the time, what do you need from me? What am I not doing? And she says that I do everything right. So what do I do to help? I'm going to tell you right now, counseling is one of the best things you can do. I know everybody over here is a counselor, so we're trying to sell our wares, but that's not necessarily the truth for me anyways. I really do believe in this process. I am a person who dodged every kind of therapy that you could ever get in life, and somehow I ended up here helping people doing these things. And it's because I actually watched the process and saw how it healed the wounds. It sometimes helps to have someone take you through each step. Another thing is sometimes there's unanswered questions. She may be feeling like you're doing everything in your power, but sometimes the discovery process hasn't been gone through in a complete manner. I don't know your complete
That's true.
situation, Derek, but there's often lingering questions where they may feel somewhat satisfied to the point where they're like, okay, I'm ready to heal, I'm ready to recover. But there's sometimes deep-seated things that can get pulled out through that discovery process when it's all done properly, the last conversation. And then it's important to have a plan. If you don't have a plan for what's next in your marriage, it's if you're sitting still in your marriage always needs to move forward. Just like your career needs to move forward, or you're going to get
Mhm.
bored and start looking at all the problems. Just
Mhm.
like, if you play sports and you don't progress, you're going to feel frustrated with yourself and you're going to look at all your problems. A marriage also needs to move forward, and you need to be able to look forward towards something and move on something. My wife and I were fortunate enough to pick up travel as a hobby, and that keeps us distracted pretty much 12 months out of the year because we're always planning the next vacation. It doesn't have to be something that costs a lot of money. It can be other things. It can be hobbies. It can be interests. I know people that go hiking. Some people like to do the sip and paint thing. Find common interests that you can share and keep the focus on building so much more for the future that the past looks small in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, I want to add on too, because I mean, obviously, thank you, Derek, for giving us more information, and you saying that you're specifically asking her what is it that she needs from you that you're not doing, and she's saying that you're doing everything right. She may not know what she needs at this particular point in time, and keep in mind that that will change as you're going through different stages of recovery. It will change. And it may change from day to day. It really just depends on everything that she's still dealing with. So I'm right there with you, Jeff, when you say that you need to bring in a third party. No one that I've ever met who is either the betrayed or the betrayer is an expert in infidelity recovery. So you don't necessarily know what you need to do, what you don't need to do, when you need to do it, what you need, what you don't need. You don't necessarily know. So you need someone that is an expert in this area that can help guide you guys through that process. And I imagine that you're probably feeling a little defeated at times too, when you feel, okay, you're saying I'm doing everything right, why aren't we moving forward, why aren't we healing? Well, it's because maybe there's some steps that have been skipped, and you need a third party to come in and help you guys out.
So, Derek, I do see that you are going through the counseling process with Sonny. I don't know if you've done an intensive or if you guys have done the last chance weekend, but I'll tell you, it's a whole different experience. It may be something you want to consider. Um, at the same, when you're saying you want to reach out, just reach out to Asani. He'll get in touch with me. He has access to my entire schedule. Uh, I run several businesses, so I'm a very busy guy. But at the same time, I make time for my men that need that extra support and that help. And I'm gonna tell you, when we improve, that excites. So, like, if you're living an unfulfilled life yourself, I'm telling you, if you seek your own fulfillment and take her along for the ride, there's
Mhm.
nothing more attractive to most women, and Lakeisha, than a man who's actually on his path. I,
Yep.
I don't know anything else I can tell you, but when we succeed, they are proud of us. I mean, as long as we're doing the right things along with that, when we succeed and we're on our path, it tends to distract from a lot of the
Yeah,
past because they
that's
can
true.
see the improvement that we're working on us. And so
That's
definitely
true.
reach out to Asani and get in touch with him, and he'll get you in some time with me. Not a problem. And if we need to just have a quick sit down discovery call as well, we can do that. And Hassani will take care of arranging all that. Um, want to go to? I know we skipped somebody, so I don't want to do. Let's
Oh,
see.
I'll help you out.
There you go.
Was Danielle, how do you navigate regaining trust when your porn/sex addicted WS, what is that? WS doesn't want you monitoring their phone with any spy or purity apps?
Okay, so you're trying to convince him to allow you to put spyware on his phone. I believe in utter transparency. Like, so nothing of mine is ever locked. All of my passwords are available. And I don't mind if my wife ever puts spyware on my phone. There are some men who just have a problem with that. Now, we always say, A man who has nothing to hide hides nothing.
Hides nothing.
All right. So there's something to be hidden there. And I mean, if you can share bodies, you can share phones.
Yep.
Right. And so at the end of the day, there's really no excuses for that. The best thing you can do is get him to talk to another man. So, I mean, even if you could just get him on the phone for with Asani at all to help him, figure out why he should be able to keep his phone. I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, we have guys change their numbers all the time. We have guys who
change
open up
jobs
their phones all the time. Like, you've seen it, Lakeisha. I've seen it. We've literally watched it happen where they said, no, 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 no. And you get them through a couple sessions and they realize life is going to be better on the other end of these major moves of transparency.
Yep.
It's hard because, especially for men in this world, men have 2 purposes in life. Really, it comes down to 2 purposes that are their main goals, and they don't understand when they've actually achieved one. The first one is a solid, good woman, okay? And the second is resources. And these are the things that inspire men to move forward. When they're taught how to put those things in proper context, they tend to be a lot more forward. And when we learn, most people are lying. Most men, most women in this world, we've created these lies where we say we're feeling great when we feel terrible inside, where we go to work with a smile on our face and we object to everything in our minds, but we don't know how to articulate that in a way that doesn't get us in trouble.
Yep.
And so what we need to do is learn how to tell the truth. And when we live in truth, we can live in transparency. And when we live in transparency, there's nothing to hide. And once we can know that I can be transparent without getting hurt, that's a big problem. I live my life in brutal transparency.
Right.
Anyone who knows me knows I don't care. I will tell you exactly what's going on in my head. I will not do it in a way that hurts you, but I will definitely be very, very direct. And when we can live that particular life in business and it doesn't matter whether you're in corporate America or whether you have your own entrepreneurship, in your relationships, in your friendships, when we can have that transparency level and learn how to do that in an appropriate manner without backlash, there's a freedom that comes. And then there's this also a trust that comes from the people around you, because they know no matter whether they like you or don't like you, you're always going to shoot it straight with them.
Well, I'll quickly just add on to that, and I'm stealing it from you because I just love how spot on it is, right? How we get to knowledge, right? Because what she's really talking about is, how do I regain trust when this person is still making me feel like they're hiding something, right? So you always say it starts with belief, then we get to faith, then we get to trust, and then we get to knowledge. Well, you can't get to trust because you don't believe that there's nothing there. You believe that there's something there. You don't believe that your spouse is being faithful and they're not doing what needs to be done to prove that to you. So you don't have faith that they won't cheat again. I'm assuming there was some type of infidelity or whatever. You don't have the faith that they're going to stay faithful. Therefore, you can't get to that space of trust. So how do you navigate it? They've got to be completely open, honest, transparent, give you access to everything without any hesitation or reserve.
And you also have to realize that if he's doing porn on his phone and these different kinds of things, that's not looked down upon like it used to be in society. It's kind of like it becomes normal-ish with their boys when they're talking. But here's the deal. That's a form of sedation. And when we're experiencing some kind of pain or unfulfillment in our lives, we're all seeking happiness ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
But when we can't create a life of happiness for ourselves, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with your relationship. It could be at work. It could be, he could still have his basketball dreams going. I don't know that he played basketball, but I'm just saying he could still have his basketball. I know guys who were crushed by not living that high school collegiate basketball thing, that have lived the rest of their life in some form of sedation, whether it's alcohol, womanizing, drugs, abuse is a form of sedation because it gives them a sense of power.
Right.
These things, all of the pain in our lives comes from one place, and we call that conscious incompetence. It's when I realize that I'm incompetent in some area of my life. And so if I can't find a solution or someone to follow or lead me out of the pain, I'll sedate.
Yeah. I mean, she also said that there's an addiction there, right? So if you say there's an addiction, that there's a struggle going on, and it may be a situation where they're just having a difficult time, dealing with the addiction, and there's still things going on, and they may be telling you that there's nothing. So they don't want you to see that they actually are still watching porn.
That's it.
Bottom line is there's something to hide. So. All right, Lindsay, my spouse who is unfaithful is open to me asking questions now. Are there questions that are unhealthy to ask? Is it possible to know too much?
Ooh, so that's a personal question for you.
Yes.
I would suggest getting someone who understands infidelity very, very well and has dealt with it successfully to mediate that conversation. We actually, in the Last Chance weekends when Lakeisha and I are there, that's one of the processes we go through where there are, you come up with your own questions and they come, then we also suggest some, and it can get pretty graphic sometimes. And so there's no real question that's off limits, because if you want to know, you want to know. You do need to ask yourself, do you really want to know?
Yes.
Because there's certain things that maybe you're okay with not knowing.
Absolutely.
And you will, sometimes open more wounds than are necessary. So the other thing that you also have to realize is that one of the things we have to coach guys out of, and I know some women need to be coached out of this too, is I just deal with a lot of men, so I always go there first. It's not that I'm chauvinistic or anything like that. I think guys have more problems. But one of the things I always have to coach the men out of is becoming lawyerly when they get into the answering of their questions. Well, see, what had happened was, and they get into all these descriptions of scenarios, and all of a sudden their vocabulary increased by about 40 words they don't understand. And that becomes a huge problem. And they really just need to tell it to you like they're one of your boys on the street.
Yes.
So it's going to cause the pain. They're not always doing that because they're wanting to hurt you. Sometimes they're doing it to avoid causing the pain.
Right.
Either because they're scared of the repercussions of that pain, or because they're actually truly sorry and do not want to cause you any further damage or harm. They just want to move on. And so I would suggest that you get some mediation in that conversation from someone who knows what they're doing. What do you think, Keisha?
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. And I mean, obviously, the best case scenario is to be able to come to last chance weekend. But if you cannot do that, then we do offer like half-day solutions where that's all we will do. We will come together and we'll just focus on full disclosure. So that is an option as well. If you can't do the entire weekend, but I definitely agree it should be navigated, facilitated is what I'm looking for. It should be mediated, facilitated, you be guided, navigated through it. There is a process that we have in place to help, because what you don't want to do is have him close off when he's finally ready now to answer questions. And I know a little bit of background. So it's been a process to get here. You're here now. You don't want him to clam up and close up and shut down, and then you're kind of right back where you started from. So it definitely needs to be done with finesse so that you guys both get what it is that you need out of the situation. Out of the conversation.
All right, we've got Veronica here. She says, my husband and I are in a process of divorce, and he was the one that wanted the divorce. My husband has issues with flirting and has cheated. I asked him to do counseling, and he tries to flirt with me and wants to be intimate with me, but doesn't want to be with me. I feel confused and used. Should I just completely have no contact or try working things out? So confused, need advice. Veronica, you're married. I don't know if you have children, so you may have to those situations to work around. But you definitely need to establish boundaries and set the line. So like if men will only do what you let them do. There's only so far that they can go with this. If you draw a hard line, like listen, counseling, yes, we're gonna go through it, or there's nothing to talk about. Like we can, I don't know what Keisha would say to that. She's a little stronger in the arena of giving advice in that particular area. But I know as a man that if I was your brother, I'd be saying draw the line
Yeah.
hard in the sand between
No.
the game playing and the truth.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And again, as women, keep in mind that men enter us, right? We have to open ourselves up to them. There is an exchange that takes place, and it's not just physical. It's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual. And you're staying connected to this person every time you open yourself up to him. So of course you're confused because you're feeling all of these emotions and I'm because he wanted the divorce per your words, then I'm sure that made you feel some level of rejection from him. So the fact that he wants to be intimate with you makes you feel accepted and desired and wanted, which I'm sure is what you want anyway, but it's sending the wrong message. And what it's doing is continuing to rip the band-aid off the wound, and it's never going to heal. The
Right.
divorce created a wound right in your heart. So just imagine that as you're going through your day to day, while you guys are trying to make arrangements and figure out the divorce thing, every time he flirts, it's like the scab formed because it's starting to heal, but then he flirts and then you start picking at the scab a little bit. Then you guys have sex and then the scab comes all the way back off. And now you got to start that healing process all over again. So it's not healthy for either one of you. And you definitely have to establish boundaries, like Jeff said, and take control of your power, take control of your heart. Like literally, I know that this is tearing you up because you don't know what to do. But what you can do is make sure that you are protecting yourself, your heart, your energy, your mind. I don't know what all you have going on. Like Jeff said, I don't know if you have kids, but this will impact every single aspect of your life, your work performance, your other relationships, because this is out of order. So you definitely got to get this in order so that you truly can begin your healing process. If we're getting divorced, we're getting divorced. That's it. No more cookie. It stays in the jar.
Pretty much. I mean, that's lock it down because like guys will play these games. They will because it's about control.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as they can, get a little smile here and a little wink and a nod there, even if they're not actually committing any other act with you, they're moving and manipulating emotions to try to get an outcome that is favorable to them. And unfortunately, in some of these situations, men will use sex as a weapon. We already know women use the sex as a weapon as well, and this can be used to try to get a more favorable outcome, especially if you're going through a divorce. So I would hold the line on getting counseling and going through the process. And we always look at here at Couples Academy to try to save the marriage if at all possible. But if you're in a situation where you're being played with, you need to draw the line, at least on the intimacy part, until you clearly understand what the goal here is and what the outcome is. Because you don't want to be caught in the middle of that, because all you're going to do is find that you're being cheated on without legally being cheated on, which basically gives him, he's going to use that against you. It's basically going to give him everything he wants.
Yeah.
If he has deceitful intentions.
Yep. All right, Elbert, I have been divorced for almost a year now in February. I'm not ready to date, but people are still trying to date me, and I told them so. I was married for 20 years, raising 5 kids, and I still feel lost at times. My ex-wife stepped outside of our marriage.
Well, Albert, if there's no, if at some point, you probably need to at least, being honest, you probably need to get out there and go through the experience of a date and maybe set the boundaries that you're not looking for something serious. Just because a lot of times we'll sit in our own pain and relish the comfort of not being hurt.
Yeah.
And that doesn't allow us to get on or move on with our lives. So, I mean, I think, a coffee date, a breakfast date, a lunch date, something that's not as intimate, go out with someone and let them know, hey, listen, I'm still recovering from this, and, see where it goes, and try to make friends, because a lot of times the problem in the first place is that, people don't end up in relationships with their friends. They like, everything's so hypersexualized in our society now. It's attraction. You're sleeping together, like we were saying yesterday, and then all of a sudden you realize that you weren't friends ever in your relationship. And so it'd be good to just get out and meet people and have a cup of coffee, and just let your intentions be known that you're not going in any particular direction right now, but you're definitely open to meeting people and having conversations.
Hey, quickly, Jeff, let's give some shout outs right quick. Hey, Dee Dee from South Carolina. Hey, Darren Wilson, gorgeous. I love it. Justin Williams. And all right, Ralph Welsh. Thank you for joining us. We definitely appreciate it and hanging in here, because I know you logged on like, where is Hassani?
Yeah.
So we thank you for hanging in here with us.
So we've got JG. 2 years after infidelity, we bought our first home in Nevada. Unfortunately, California is so pricey. We've now lived separately for 6 months. What are some things we can do to get back on track?
Ooh, okay. So you live separately for 6 months, and what are some things you can do to get back on track?
I will tell you, if you guys are trying to get back together, and you're living separate, like I keep saying this, but last chance weekend, the reason why I say this is because we had half the couples in our last group came separated.
Yeah.
They all left together. Every last one of them left together. So it's about really getting help. If you can make it to the last chance weekend, that's great, because you're getting 6 months of counseling in one action-packed weekend. Normally, when you go through the counseling process, it can be 6 months to 2 years to recover from an infidelity. Okay.
Yeah.
Week, but here's the thing: you're getting an hour with your counselor, and then you have a week of whatever else is distracting you from getting back to the main thing you really want to be working on. Then you have another hour with your counselor, and a week of distractions that could get you set off track. When you're doing this, we're talking 30 hours straight of an intensive walking through, digging up the pain, healing the wounds, working on the possibilities, setting up the future, getting the understandings for moving forward, and creating a plan to actually get you out of this, and then finding the fun and the exploration of a whole new life together. And that's why it works so well. So if you can condense that 6 months into a weekend, I would suggest it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you said. Definitely getting back under the same roof as soon as possible, I think, will be extremely helpful, because one of the reasons why infidelity happens in the first place is that there's a disconnect, right? So,
and distance in the relationship.
Right? You're living in the same house, but you're still disconnected, and there's still distance. And so now you guys are putting physical distance along with the emotional disconnect and the emotional distance. And so I don't see how you're going to be able to bring this back together while you're still separate. But if you cannot make it to Last Chance Weekend, obviously there are goo gobs of videos on Couples Academy YouTube channel that you can watch. There are books that you can purchase that Danielle and Hassani have written. I would start there. I would start there with just maybe once a week, picking a video. You guys watch a video together. You guys get the book. There's a set, I think, too. There's a special normally where they have a couple different books that you can buy in bulk or get together. I'm not sure what specials are going on right now, but I would start there with just watching the videos, and again, possibly getting some books that you guys can read to at least get you going until you can get to a counselor.
We've only got a couple minutes here, but I want to get the legendary lady, because I noticed she's a regular.
All right. How do I deal with my spouse's slow going when it comes to doing the work? I feel like I need to stop watching videos because it reminds me of what he's not doing. So I wonder if he really wants to. Jeff, this is for you, Jeff.
So here's the deal, right? Sometimes we're not doing the work because we feel it's not benefiting us directly. That's the real truth. Is like they know that the relationship may get out of it, but sitting through hours and hours of actually going through these relationship things, right? It feels dry and drum to most men. I want to ask you a question, legendary lady. I want to ask you if he is living a fulfilled life outside of the relationship. In other words, he's accomplishing his goals, he's accomplishing his dreams, he's accomplishing what he wants out of life and has achieved. Or is he hitting a roadblock in those areas? Because if he's hitting a roadblock and home is okay, then status quo at home is good enough because he's not getting what he wants from his actual entire life. And everybody has their own set of things that they have to accomplish for themselves to have a sense of pride in who they are. And so we feel a lot of times like the relationship, and it should be the primary goal. But at the same time, if you're feeling fulfilled at home and unfulfilled everywhere else that you go in life, it will eventually turn inward and end up manifesting itself in the home as a dissatisfaction, because it's actually more convenient to take that stress from the real world out in the home than it is for him to take it out on the rest of the world. And so I would say that if you're noticing that he doesn't really want to do the work on the relationship, it may come from him not having work to do on himself. And so I would push him in the direction more towards getting help in that arena. And we're getting ready to start a program next week called the FOUNDRY, and that's geared towards helping men realize their goals and maintain their homes and realize their financial and get their bodies back in shape, about having it all lifestyle. And I'll tell you, that energizes a relationship, because when I come home, like, I love seeing my wife when I come home. I'm at home so much now because I was able to take back my life that my wife is like, I can't wait for you to go down to see Hassani this weekend because you're home too much. And most wives are like trying to get their husbands to stay home. My wife is like, please go out because you spend a lot of time here and I just need a break. So it can be that way. It can get to that point where you're just like, you trust and you can push and let him go. But it takes him doing the work at a level that's intense where he can actually see the rewards for himself and his own being coming out of it. So I know.
Yeah, I just wanted to just add on just a little bit to that quickly before we sign off. Keep in mind that the work that you're doing is for you. The work that you're doing is not for your spouse. It's for you first, right? We've said this multiple times that it's individual and it's collective, right? If, you know, my husband's working and I'm not, this isn't going to work. So he's got to be doing his own individual work, lining up with God if you are a believer, but he's got to do his own work. I got to do my own work, lining up with God. And then this comes together. So you're not watching the videos. You got to change your mindset. You're not watching the videos for him. You're not worried about what he's doing. You're not focused on what he's doing. You're focused on yourself, trying to get your own individual healing. You can't wait for him to see what he's going to do. And then, okay, when he does that, then I'll do this. That's not how it works. So you definitely have to make sure that you continue to do what you know is right, because you're going to be accountable for your own actions, not his.
Yeah. And so, guys, we're running out of time. I wish we could hang out and stay and answer all the questions today, but we're already a little bit over time. So this is what I want to do. I want to thank you all for joining us. I want you to like, share, subscribe on the channel so that you can stay tuned. Hassani will be rejoining us tomorrow evening. I promise you. And did you want to say any last words, Location?
Just thank you for tuning in. And I hope to see you guys at Last Chance Weekend next month.
And we're going to keep your questions and try to get to those tomorrow. All right. So thank you for tuning in. And let me see if I know how to work all this stuff. Give me 1 second. You guys have a great evening.
Good night.